some bad news. I knew it. I love when he does that.
Well, once you hit rock bottom, the only way to go is up. So good luck, okay? Good luck.
You say rock bottom, but, like, it just seems like things keep getting worse. What is rock bottom? Who decides what's the bottom of all this? I mean, seriously, you go, okay, today is Friday, and I woke up in Cleveland, and I'm going, how much worse can it get?
I can never hate you, even if I try. Girl, I love you too much, and I've loved you too long to fight. It ain't always a bad thing saying goodbye. And the last thing that I wanna be is a waste of your time. There's nothing I could say to make you wanna stay. Your heart made up, it's mine. I don't want you to lie one more minute. You ain't done nothing wrong. I'm not where you belong. Don't let one teardrop fall, girl. You think it's your fault, but it isn't. I fell in love and you didn't. I hope you find someone to be the person for you that you were to me, what I wanted to be for you. I ain't never asked you to settle or compromise. Girl, you deserve everything in this world, even if it means you can't be mine. There's nothing I could say to make you wanna stay. Your heart made up, it's mine. I don't want you to lie one more minute. You ain't done nothing wrong. I'm not where you belong. Don't let one teardrop fall, girl. You think it's your fault, but it isn't. I fell in love and you didn't. I fell in love and you didn't feel like I did. I gave you everything I had to give. You didn't need more, you just needed different. There's nothing I could say to make you wanna stay. Your heart made up, it's mine. I don't want you to lie one more minute. You ain't done nothing wrong. I'm not where you belong. Don't let one teardrop fall, girl. You think it's your fault, but it isn't. I fell in love and you didn't. I fell in love and you didn't.
How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to episode 297 of the Hoots Podcast, February 17, 2022. It's your boy Joshie. You can follow me on Twitter at Josh Lopez Media. Oh boy, we're here in the Good Brothers Studio in lovely Chicago, Illinois. We're 3 episodes away from reaching episode 300 of the Hoots Podcast, which will be taking place on March 10, 2022. More information about episode 300 as we get closer to that said date. But all I can say right now is that I have a big announcement in regards to the future of this podcast that I'll be sharing on that particular episode. And it's good. It's going to be a big celebration of all of you who's taken the time to listen to this podcast in the last 6 years or watch us here on YouTube. And it's a celebration show to honor you. It's not about people putting me over or anything like that. It's not about me. I want it to be about you guys and just have a fun, just like we do in every single edition of the Hoots podcast. It's a amazing accomplishment that we reached 300 episodes, but I'm not going to put that episode on a higher pedestal than what we've done, or even shows like today's episode. The charm of this podcast is the fact that we're not doing it for clout. We're doing it to have an impact on people's lives and make it part of their routine during the week, and provide some entertainment and provide a mental escape for them. And that's why I do this. And I leave my accolades and all that extra stuff for my transfers. I leave that stuff for that because that's my career. But when it comes to this show, hey man, I just want you to feel like I'm sitting next to you. If this is your first time listening to the podcast, thank you for checking it out. Make sure to smash that subscribe button anywhere you listen to the podcast. And I just want you to feel like I'm sitting next to you. We're talking about pro wrestling, and that's what we do here. We also talk about life. We talk about relationships. We talk about sports. We talk about a lot of things, especially mental health as well. First, certainly not least, I wanted to mention before we get to the plugs, I want to give a big shout out to my friend Rob Aurelius, who's the co-founder of ARCG Media Group, who came on the podcast feed yesterday, and we did a fun interview for about an hour yesterday, and got to get into his background and what ARCG is, and the importance of branding and networking and honoring the relationships you have with people who brought you to where you are today. Rob is a really cool dude that I got to know for the last 5 or 6 months. We've exchanged conversations and stuff on Twitter, and you never know who's watching or listening to your show, but it's pretty cool to link up with a guy like that and get to pick his brain about his journey and what he does with his career. He's a great dude, and I learned a lot from him for the conversation, and it's been a while since I've done like a formal interview like that on this type of platform. I'd probably say since my broadcasting days, but it really meant a lot for me that he wanted to come on and talk with me. And I just want to give a big shout out to Rob for checking this out. And make sure to support his group. Make sure to go on Twitter, put in ARCG Media, follow it there. Make sure to check out his tour, ARCG WWE Tour. He'll be in Dallas for WrestleMania if you're going down there. I'm going to be down there, so hope I can see some of you guys down in Jerry World. So it should be a good time. All right, let's get some plugs really quick. Make sure to smash the subscribe button where you're on YouTube, Google Play, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you get your podcasts from. If you can do us a favor, if you're an Apple Podcast listener, please let myself and Bernard Carter know what you like or dislike about the Hoots Podcast. You can leave us a 4-star rating, a 5-star rating, whatever's up to your trajectory. We want to know what you guys like or dislike about the podcast or things we can improve on. So if you want to reach out to us in that way, to send us a screenshot of your review on Apple Podcasts, and we'll give you a shout out on air. Also, make sure to support Bernard Carter's work at DerekStoughton.com. I want to plug his work as well. It's not just about me. Make sure to support his work as well as WrestlingRumors.net as well. And, Bernard Carter has a submission for the Thoughts of Dericho, so you're getting that in this episode. And shout out to Brett Young, who had the intro song for our show this week. You did it. It has a very deep meaning, and those who have listened to this podcast will probably understand why I shared that song. And it's a song that is meant a lot to me. It's one of my favorites to play on the guitar. And it's a song that I think it's relatable for a lot of people that have gone through the situation I went through last year. And if you're in that process of healing, if you're in that process of trying to find yourself, or are you in that process of falling out of love with somebody, or, trying to get back to whole and get back to where you are, it's a song that's very eye-opening, and I think we all need to listen to it. And I'm sharing that song because later on today, Brett Young is sharing the actual music video of said song, and I can't wait to watch it. It should be pretty good. So Yeah, shout out to Bryan for the song this week. On this week's podcast, of course, we're going to be going over our predictions for the Elimination Chamber coming up on Saturday. Saturday is going to be a marathon for your boy. Make sure to bookmark ProWrestlingTranscriptions.com. Here's what I got this weekend, especially Saturday. I have Elimination Chamber. I have a New Japan Golden Series show that I got to do that morning prior to Elimination Chamber. I have NWA USA. I got Impact No Surrender, right? The pay-per-view. I got to do that later on because they're in New Orleans. They have a pay-per-view on Fight TV. And then I have New Japan Strong that I'm doing right after that. So Saturday, I'm out. I don't think you guys are going to see me besides me post my articles because that is going to be a long-ass day. So make sure to bookmark ProWrestlingTranscriptions.com. And as you guys are watching here on Facebook, and for those who are listening, you guys see in the description, if you want to send us any audio shout-outs or congrats for episode 300, you can send those in an audio file or MP3 file to TheHootsPodcast@gmail.com. So enough of the plugs. Let's get into the Good Birds Q&A session, shall we? We do the segment each and every single week here on the Hoots Podcast. And this is one of my favorite parts of the show because I get to interact with you guys. And it's part of me because I love interacting with those who actually care about our show and actually take the time to listen. So I appreciate all you good brothers and good sisters out there. Okay, we're going to start this off as we usually do with the good brother Chris Aletta. I got questions this week from Chris and Sam Piopo today. Yes, sir. Second City Sam, my good brother Sam, sent questions as well. And I got a question from Mike from Main Event Swerve, who sent in a question last night after Dynamite was over. So I'll get to that as well. Let's do this. We'll start for Chris. What's up, Oos? Here's some questions for the Q&A this week. Josh Alexander, do you think this is part of the program on his road to getting back the Impact title? I certainly hope so, but I have to be honest with you guys. I have not liked this whole scenario with Josh Alexander. I'm still not happy with how Bound for Glory ended. I get it. Moose could be the Impact World Champion at any time, but the fact that don't do that when the iron is striking hot with Josh Alexander. I thought he was really hitting his stride and at a highest peak, and he's subbing his family. You're going to do a cash-in like that. It works for different heels, but with how Moose is, he could have been the Impact World Champion at any time. So, him being in the background and having to fight Jonah and all these random people along the way, I just wasn't really a big fan of it. So, hopefully this is a program for him to get back to the Impact World title. I've heard something about him that his contract it may be expiring. We'll have to see, but I'll tell you this. I like Josh Alexander as a performer. I enjoy covering his work. But Impact needs to figure some stuff out, man, because sooner or later you got to stop relying on, here's Jay White from the Bullet Club. Oh, here's the Guerrillas of Destiny. Oh, here's Honor No More. Can you start developing and focusing on your current stars instead of relying on this cap-ass concept known as the Forbidden Door? Can we stop with the Forbidden Door already? It's stupid. So that's my thoughts there. Next question from Chris. He says, thoughts on this Wardlow build? I'll say my thoughts for that for AEW. What the hell's wrong with AEW? I'll say that for now. What he's doing right now is doing him no favors, but I'll say the rest for that for the AEW segment. Thoughts on Matt Cardona being the new NWA World Heavyweight Champion? Happy for Matt Cardona that he won the title. I would have done it on a bigger stage, especially a pay-per-view. I wouldn't do it at a taping in Kentucky. That's just my opinion, but I guess they wanted to give the title to Matt Cardona so they could build up more towards this Crockett Cup match with Nick Aldis. So I understand that from a business point of view. But for me, I feel like Trevor Murdoch was done dirty, and for him to lose the title like that at a TV taping after the journey he had to get that title on the big pay-per-view like NWA 73, I just felt bad for for Trevor. But Matt Cardona being the NWA World Heavyweight Champion is fine with me. I just think you could have executed that better on a bigger platform. Let's go to the next question. Yes, sir. What are you looking forward to the most this NFL offseason? Believe it or not, I'm not actually. I really don't care where Aaron Rodgers goes. By the way, you're Aaron Rodgers when you let good Waterfall go back to the free agent market. Good job, dumbass. You got one of the hottest women of all time, Shailene Woodley, out there, and you couldn't get the job done. Oh well, not my problem. None of my concern. I'll say this though. I'm sure there'll be a lot of discussion about where he's going to go and blah, 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 and they're going to make a big fuss out of it. I really don't care about that. I am curious to see where Mitch Trubisky goes. I am a Mitch Trubisky fan. I'm always going to be a supporter of his. And I felt he was done wrong here, not only by the team, but the city and the media as well. And I want him to succeed. So I'm really curious to see where he goes in free agency. I think it's going to be a very interesting offseason when it comes to the quarterback carousel. I think we got the coaching carousel mostly figured out. Maybe outside some assistants, some other places. But I am curious to see how things go with Mr. Trubisky. I want to see where some of these free agents go from some of these super teams like the Bills and the Chiefs and stuff like that who had big playoff losses. Are they able to withstand the rosters that they have, or they're going to start cutting some of their bigger guys? What's going to happen with the Raiders now with Josh McDaniels as their head coach? I'm looking forward to that. Let's see if they bring in some competition for Daniel Jones with the Giants. There's a lot, this is a great thing about the NFL. Even if you don't have games, there's always something to look forward to. I'm sure everybody's looking forward to the draft. I like the spectacle of the NFL draft, but I know next to nothing about college football. So, for me, I'm really, my attention right now is really looking forward towards more of free agency right now as far as the offseason is concerned, and then go from there. But I am excited to see whatever plan Ryan Poles has for the Bears this offseason, and hopefully it's a good one. So that'd be my answer to that question. That's a good one, though. Next one here on the list, he has with all the open NFL head coaching jobs not filled, any thoughts on those hirings? Looking back at it and just looking at the list of the final end of this coaching carousel, I think the people are where they need to be. I will say, and everybody's in agreement with it, that the Rooney Rule has been made to look like a complete bunch of cap. And it's unfortunate. The whole stuff with Brian Flores is unfortunate. It's kind of ridiculous that there's only one African-American head coach in the NFL. I think that's ridiculous. But now we have two. Lovey took the spot in Houston, so I'm happy for him. But I'm happy for Lovey that he has a head coaching spot, but it's the Houston Texans. It's the Houston Texans. It's one of the worst franchises in sports out there today. And, you lucked out at Deshaun Watson, but guess what? That guy's brought bad PR to your organization. One or two decent seasons at best. I just feel bad for Lovey. He got a spot, but he's with the wrong organization. Curious to see where it goes with Mike McDaniel. I'm not a person that judges people on their looks. I saw something like, you're really going to have this geeky guy becoming a head coach? That doesn't matter. What matters is what you do in the field and if you know football. And look at his resume and his background. The guy knows what he's doing. So I hope it works out for him in Miami. What else? I'm just curious to see how things are going to go with Josh McDaniels in the second time of him being the head coach. As far as Kevin McConnell, I think the Vikings' new head coach, Kevin McDonald, I don't know much about him outside of him being an assistant with the Rams. So we'll have to see how that plays out. I think he's being introduced today as the Vikings' new head coach. So Shout out to you, Nate the Great. Hopefully it works out for you, brother. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, so those are my thoughts on that. Next question here. He says, third member of House of Black. If it's Buddy Matthews, are you interested? And now that you mentioned it, yes and no. I'm kind of 50-50 with it because Black and Matthews are basically the same wrestlers. And that's basically what was the charm of the select matches that they had when they were in WWE. Like, I wouldn't mind seeing Buddy Matthews in AEW. But, again, what about somebody else that's currently a part of AEW that's not for WWE that could join that faction? You know what I mean? That'd be my response to that. Like, how about somebody else on the roster that's not from WWE that can join that group? It's cool that Brody King's there, Malachi Black's there. You don't have to have 5 people in every faction. Look at Black and King. I think they're fine by themselves right now, as far as I'm concerned. If Buddy Matthews joins House of Black, I'm not going to throw a fit about it. I mean, I'll be happy for him. He's in AEW, blah, 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 but it's not something that I necessarily need to see either. That's just my opinion. Next question, last one here for Chris this week. He says, I got to bring up Cody. Did you see the writing on the wall with this over the last few months? I did. I'm going to explain a lot more about the Cody situation when in What the Hell is Wrong with AEW, because that's the appropriate segment for that type of discussion. But, I did see the writing on the wall. I mean, you could have seen the writing on the wall when the promotion started, but nobody wants to talk about that because everything is great in AEW, right? Thanks for the questions this week, Brian. I appreciate it. Next batch of questions this week comes from the good brother Sam Piopo. Make sure to follow me on Twitter at Second City Sam. I appreciate you, good brother. His first question here, it says, how do you feel about an Arcade Bro WWE title match in the future? I would certainly be interested into it. I don't know where or when you would do that match, but if the opportunity presented itself and it was for a world title, I think it'd be cool. Matt Riddle find a way to become Mr. Money in the Bank, and he wins the title somehow. He gets the title off of Lashley or Seth Rollins, something like that, wherever the heel is at the time, and then, or it turns on him and Randy Orton starts chasing Matt Riddle, or maybe Orton wins the title and Riddle's chasing him. Depending on how that scenario plays out, I think it'd be pretty cool. I would be down for that. I really would. I would be down for that. Next one here on the list says, explain the differences that you see between AEW Adam Cole and NXT Adam Cole. I think in NXT Adam Cole, outside of the Undisputed Era, he let his work speak for itself. In AEW, I see another guy that's more worried about friends. Let's be friends. Than getting the job done. And I mentioned this last week in What the Hell is Wrong with AEW, but that dude's character arc is so bipolar, it's all over the place. 1 week he's with the Young Bucks. The next week he's with Red Dragon. The next week he's with Britt Baker. The next week he brings in Jay White. What's next week? GOD's going to pop up? Oh, because we got to still make Bullet Club relevant in 2022. Just stop. Enough already. And bickering with the Young Bucks and Red Dragon is supposed to, get me all excited. I have seen that match 20 times in New Japan and Ring of Honor. It's like that stuff that I talk about. AEW doesn't do a good job of actually giving the casual fans a reason to care about what's going on with these programs, because they have you as the audience. Let's say if you never watched wrestling before. Let's say you never watched AEW before and never seen these performers before. Would you really give a shit that these two had a rivalry in another promotion that you never spent any time on or never watched? Let me ask that question. Would you care? the difference are right in front of your face, man. It's like, here's this guy with this big perception. Now he's going to go after the heavyweight title in AEW because of storyline reasons. But I thought title programs were determined off your power rankings and your win-loss records. I'm sorry. Him beating Evil Uno in a squash match on Rampage doesn't constitute him being as the number one contender for the AEW World Title. You found a little loophole to justify that for story reasons, but I see right through that. I'm not going to sit here and pretend, Adam Cole is qualified to be a number one contender. Of course he is. As a performer, he's a great wrestler. I love the dude. He's a great guy. But what he's doing right with AEW sucks. And I'm supposed to forget that he lost a big TV match to Orange Cassidy, but he's the number one contender and probably main eventing your next pay-per-view? I'm supposed to take that seriously? But this is the promotion that said wins and losses matter. So tell me, what is it? Do the wins and losses matter or the storylines matter? You tell me. There's a little bit of double standards, not only through the fan base, but in your promotion as well. So, yeah, AEW, home of Bill of Goods. Next question. Number 3, with the rumors of a possible Stone Cold Steve Austin return to the ring, how often do you think of the match that never was between Austin and Punk? 0. I just didn't think the match was going to happen, and I'm still in the belief of I believe it when I see it when it comes to Stone Cold. Has there been times I thought of what it would look like or what the build would look like or a promo off between those guys? Of course. I don't know what Punk fan wouldn't, but for me, how many times that I thought about a match between those two? Not a lot. I mean, of course, it's a dream match, but honestly, I just didn't think it was ever going to happen. And I saw the writing on the wall with Punk leaving WWE before that would even become a reality. And what's unfortunate for CM Punk, when he did leave WWE, he basically could have done the whole same thing Daniel Bryan did and, have that moment for himself at WrestleMania 30. But no, he had to go. Next question. And if Austin did come back for one more run, purely speculation, give me your top 3 opponents you would like him to face. All right, that's a good question. I'm really not really big into the rumor and speculation stuff. I know this has been a big news topic, so I'll address that. I won't ignore it for you guys. But so supposedly SRS has the exclusive that WWE's made overtures for Steve Austin to have a match at WrestleMania this year. I, for one, of course, would love to see that. I've never seen a Stone Cold Steve Austin match in person. I think that'd be cool. I mean, it's just common sense you do your due diligence and see if Stone Cold would want to be part of WrestleMania in Dallas. As far as matches are concerned, I say Kevin Owens. I like to see Stone Cold and Seth Rollins have a match. I think that'd be pretty cool. Hell, even Stone Cold and Randy Orton would be dope. Stone Cold and AJ Styles probably is the only other one that could come off the top of my head. Maybe AJ puts Stone Cold away like he put away The Undertaker. Who knows? Yeah, it's few and far between. Like, I know some people are like, oh, you got to do Roman Reigns and Stone Cold Steve Austin. I don't know if that's something you can pull off. It depends on him. And still, I'm in the position right now. I'll believe it when I see it. If Stone Cold shows up, if he does, that's awesome. That's just great business for the entire industry as a whole, not just WWE. I leave it up to Steve. If he shows up, great. If he doesn't, I respect that too. Even if he just makes an appearance and stuns somebody at WrestleMania this year, I'm fine with that. So I'm just curious to see how that goes. That should be a fun time. I'm really, really excited for that. Number 5. By the way, if this is real and he is coming back, please come to the Chicago show on March 21st. March 21st at the Roast My Horizon. Please, Stone Cold, come to Chicago. Next question. How much would this lockout hurt the sport of baseball if this begins to affect regular season games? Brother, I think it's already hurting the regular season. Like, it's just very convenient when baseball wants to get in the way of the enjoyment of the fans because they can't get their head out of their ass. The fact that the pitchers and catchers are not reporting to camp right now is just bullshit. We all know it. You know it. I know it. It's just ridiculous. So hopefully they get their stuff together and hopefully they get back to the field because it's ridiculous the fact that MLB is having this lockout because owners are too selfish and putting their own best interests over their fans' interests. Without fans, you don't have shit. And baseball continue to do things. Then they realize they do stuff like this, and they realize why they're probably the fourth or fifth most relevant sport in the United States today. Number 6, what do you most want to see out of Justin Fields next season? I just want to see poise from Justin Fields. I'm not expecting the world. The trajectory of quarterbacks are what they are. I can't tell you what quarterback development should look like or whatever, because I'm from Chicago. I never seen quarterback development be actually played out in the city because people have agendas for quarterbacks that they didn't want to be drafted, or they don't give them the time to develop. So for me, I just want to see poise for Justin Fields and let him tell his story. That's what I want to see the most out of Justin Fields for the next season. For me, that's what I would like to see. Next one, here we go. 3 tag teams that should have never been broken up. Great one. That's a good one there. I say the primetime players is one for me. I'm always a fan of that tag team. Let me see. I guess a lot of people could say American Alpha too. I could probably see a lot of people saying American Alpha to answer that question. That's great. I don't know. I kind of liked the Reverend Devon stuff. I'll mention the Dudley Boys too, but those are the ones off the top of my head I can say for that. Would Cody Rhodes look stupid going back to WWE? No. And again, there's a lot of people out there that think that WWE is the worst thing that ever exists. And I saw that twat JD from New York say, "Oh, if Cody Rhodes goes back to WWE, it'd be career suicide." Oh, get over yourself. Tony Khan's not paying you, and stop shoving your head up his ass, twat. No, I don't think it would look stupid for Cody to go back to WWE. Whatever your narrative is on WWE, whether you like it or you hate watch it, you pretend to hate it because you want to get clout on Twitter, but you still actually love it and watch every single show. Whatever scenario you're in regards to your feelings towards WWE, it's not as bad as you think it is, and it's also not what the dirt sheet tells you. Look with your eyes and actually acknowledge the fact that they have an identity. And if maybe it's not your flavor of wrestling, that's cool. But don't shit on other people that they like. Like I just don't get that mindset. But anyways, for me, I leave it up to him. Brock Lesnar said it great this week on the Pat McAfee show. Pro wrestling is a business. It's a business about making money. It's not a business about feelings and everybody getting along and doing the kumbaya and treating wrestling like a daycare center. If you want to be friends and no drama and blah, 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 go to AEW. Go to AEW. It's a daycare center for WWE alumni that were head cases there. That's what it is. AEW is a daycare center for former WWE talents. That's all it is. Are we in the business of making money and putting asses in seats? Or, let me get a big round of applause for the Twitterverse. Cody's a businessman. He's an entrepreneur. He knows what he's doing. He wouldn't pass on the opportunity for have a nice contract, where he gets to dictate what he wants to do, and having a comparable deal with Vince McMahon. Why would he pass that up? Why? Oh, wait, I hear the answer in my ear. Oh, creative, right? That's the only thing, because we have this dirt sheet narrative of creative that doesn't go away, right? Because everything in creative is horrible, right? They can't do anything right? It's funny. I was listening to a podcast yesterday. I won't mention what it was, but they're talking about, what would you do if you brought Cody Rhodes back? Like, what would you do gimmick-wise? And the guy was like, I would have him say, I'm not Stardust, I'm not this. Basically feeding into Twitter's perception of how Cody Rhodes was treated in WWE. And that's the problem right there with wrestling today and wrestling fandom in general. Not everything on Twitter or what you read on dirt sheets is the gospel of what's going on in the industry. So the whole premise of your gimmick is based off what Twitter's perception is of you? Tell me, how does that make any sense? How's that going to make you a draw? So I'm not Stardust. I'm not here to be held back, blah, 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 and I'm going to take a shot at my former company, blah, 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 blah. Like, that's not interesting. Okay. Some of the notions a lot of people come up with these stupid ass narratives, and it's not even their own narrative that they believe. It's concepts, and it's from the stupid echo chamber that won't go away. Like, I don't know. That's just my opinion. I could talk about this all day, but we got to move on. 3 favorite movies starring WWE superstars. Great question. I guess I could go with all Rock movies, but I really did like Central Intelligence with him and Kevin Hart. I thought that was a really good movie. I'll say I forgot the name of the movie, but the movie that John Cena did with Amy Schumer is one that I would pick as well. That I really enjoyed that movie. That I thought that was pretty funny. And then let's see. WWE superstars. Man, you really got me on this one, man. I'll say the Bond movie that Batista was in, or any of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies that he was in. I thought that was cool with seeing Batista in there. So those would be the ones off the top of my head. All right, here we go. Last question for Sam here. It's a great one right here. Is there a type of music you listen to for specific things you do? Yes. Yes, I do have certain music that I listen to throughout the day. During the day, I'll be listening to a lot of Bad Boy music and Notorious B.I.G., Bass 112, a lot of that mid to late 90s, early 2000s hip-hop and R&B. Before I do a transcript in that process of like making my outlines for the articles, probably pop up some country music or play some metal music along the way. And then, late at night when I want to wind down or whatever, I play a lot of slow ballads and stuff, and just a lot of different types of music just to clear my head. If I start feeling down, I have a certain playlist that I pull up that I listen to a lot. I listen to a lot of Morgan Wallen music at night. I have music is a big part of my life. You guys know that about me. For those who watched and listened to this podcast in 6 years, know my story about me and music. And music is a big part of my life, and I use it in a lot of ways. I use it for songs at times when I'm feeling down on myself, or some bad memories of what happened last year or a couple years ago. Prior to that, I have songs for that, and yeah. But when it comes to like getting into like transcripts or let's say watching a Bulls game or a Bears game, you'd probably find me like listening to like some good like Slipknot and just other like rock songs. And of course, on the weekends for me, I go old school for my family, and I go listening to the Eagles and the Beatles. That's what I do on the weekends. So that's what I do. What's up, Ace? What's going on, good brother? Thanks for liking the video, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, so I listen to Eagles a lot. The Eagles are my favorite rock band of all time, and I'm a big fan of the Eagles. Let's see. Last question that we got this week for the podcast. Thank you, Sam, for the question this week, man. You killed it. Here's the question from Mike. He says, for Q&A purposes, actually, I have two questions from Mike, actually. Let's go with this one. Wins and losses don't matter at all if Cole gets a title shot now. How did he get it? Getting kissed by the Bucks? Mixed tag with Britt Baker? What am I missing? Brother, I'll explain that all in what the hell is wrong with AEW, okay? I will answer this one, though. Also, for Q&A purposes, do you see Cody Rhodes being a big deal in WWE as some dirt sheets are saying? Or is it more like a Big Carter going for the IC United States titles as I think it will? I mean, everybody's going to have their own perception of how this whole deal is going to be. I just look at it like, Cody's going to make it what he wants to make out of it. And what is his incentive to going back to WWE if that's the case, if he does go back there? What does he want to do? Twitter and podcasts like this can tell you a gazillion things. What do you want to do about it? I look at Cody Rhodes and what he wants to do is what he wants to do. I think for him, I think it is a big deal in the industry for the fact that Cody Rhodes is much as integral to the foundation of whatever AEW is as Tony Khan is. So, you guys know me. I was not a big fan of what Cody did in AEW, but I'm not going to sit here and deny his talents as a wrestler or his impact of what he could be in the industry. I thought he was being miscast, and I think Tony Khan's fascination with the Dave Meltzers and the Brian Alvarez's and the Wade Kellers of the world kind of got in the way of what him and Cody wanted to do together. And I think that showed through. And I said it before, and I said this before on Hoodie's podcast when we were doing it on Wrestling Tuesday. The boys should not be in creative, and the boys should not be executive vice presidents of wrestling promotions. It's just too much of a conflict of interest, and you see it right there in front of your eyes. Through storyline, through backstage politics, don't come here and tell me that there's no drama and nothing bad happens behind the scenes of AEW, because you're lying to yourself and you're lying to me. So Mike, I will say it's a big deal. It is a big deal in the industry for the fact that this guy is a big part of AEW becoming what it was in the first place. Without Cody Rhodes and his build for his match with Nick Aldis and all in, you probably don't have AEW. I do give credit where credit's due. Even if there's performance that I'm not a big fan of, I will give credit where credit's due. And Cody's done a lot of good things in the industry, and it is a big deal if he shows up to WWE. But just to say he's just going to be a mid-carder, I disagree with that. I want that to play it out for what it's going to be. I'm not a person that taps into Twitter perceptions. I take all that stuff with a grain of salt, because their only answer to anything that goes on with WWE is WWE creative, or these guys with YouTube channels that react to WrestleMania and Wrestle Talk videos, and they can't think for themselves. I have no respect for that shit. Think for yourself, folks. That's a tip for today. Think for yourself. On that note, we're going to wrap it up there. This has been this week's edition of the Good Brothers Q&A session. I want to thank you guys so much for saying questions this week, especially Chris, Sam, and Mike. As always, you can send me a question, whatever you want, at Josh Lopez Media, and we'll get your answers, your questions answered here on the Hoots Podcast. All right. When we come back, I'm going to give you my thoughts on what happened this past week in WWE and give you some predictions for the Elimination Chamber coming up on Saturday, right here on the Hoots Podcast.
Look, I'm a realist, right? I don't kid myself. I don't live in delusion. At this point, I don't think I'll be in the Elimination Chamber match, which means I probably won't be at WrestleMania this year, and that really bothers me. But the one good thing about not being on WrestleMania means that I won't have to compete in Dallas, Texas. See, last week I had glowing things to say about Texas. And after I did, WWE went on social media and they posted a poll. And the people of Texas, they started calling me names. They started questioning my integrity, questioning whether or not I was lying. Well, let me touch on that, okay? Last week, I was lying. I was. But right now, I'm telling you the absolute truth. Read my lips. I can't stand Texas.
Any more than I could stand anyone from Indianapolis.
I despise Texas and everything about it, okay? I'm from Maryville, Quebec, Canada, where the populace is informed, intelligent, sophisticated. Unlike the people of Texas, who are nothing more than a bunch of redneck morons with a Texas drawl. Look, let me give you a little analogy to really drive this point home, okay? If North America was a human body, Texas would be its ass. Howdy, partner.
First and foremost, thank you for joining us as you prepare to defend your championship a week from tomorrow at the Elimination Chamber Premium Live event. Now, last week on Friday Night SmackDown, we saw the reemergence of an icon.
Oh, come on. Don't call me an icon. I'm just special counsel to the tribal chief.
Paul, I was actually talking about Goldberg.
Goldberg? You talking about Goldberg?
Yes, Goldberg, the Hall of Famer. The man who once won 173 straight matches in WCW. Went on to beat the immortal Hulk Hogan to win the WCW Championship. That Goldberg.
73 straight matches? Wow. That's pretty good. If I was in WCW, everyone would be winning. Because they'd still be in business. We still talking about this guy? Brock Lesnar's old news. The farmer, the butcher, he's old news. The guy in my shadow, old news. Does anyone even care about him?
I don't care about him. I love my tribal chief. Ladies, defending. Who wants to be introduced that way anyway? What a megalomaniacal ego this man has.
Two-time Universal Champion. Nobody cares. You wanna know why? Because I'm here now. I'm the greatest Universal Champion of all time. No one has done the things that I've done in over 35 years. And if that guy came back around, I'd smack him in the face and get him out of here too. You understand? You understand? Next question.
This match between you and Goldberg was supposed to take place 2 years ago at WrestleMania. It never happened. Finally, we get this match next Saturday. Is there any added pressure on you?
Not at all. I'd say all the pressure's on Goldberg. Because 2 years ago, he might have a chance. Everything's different now. The whole world's changed. I've changed. The head of the table now. Your tribal chief is untouchable, Cole. Smashed everyone. Like I said before, the greatest of all time. I'm gonna smash Goldberg. As a matter of fact,
Ladies and gentlemen, what you're about to hear is not a prediction. It's a spoiler. I'm gonna Goldberg.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Hoots Podcast. Time to talk about what happened this week in WWE. First and foremost, before we get started here, I do want to send a special birthday shout out to the GOAT of all GOATs in professional sports, Michael Jordan, one of my biggest life idols and role models. I'm MJ through and through to the day I die. I'm a big fan of Michael Jordan, and just want to give a shout out to him on his 59th birthday today, so pretty cool. You heard comments right there from the Tribal Chief Roman Reigns, another favorite of mine in the wrestling landscape today, ahead of his match with Goldberg in the Jeddah Superdome for Elimination Chamber coming up on Saturday, which your boy will have live coverage of on ProWrestlingTranscriptions.com. You heard Roman's comments there. Let's hear what Goldberg had to say in response.
It's finally going to happen. You know, Roman Reigns said that, A, he will make you acknowledge him next Saturday at Elimination Chamber, and B, he will Goldberg.
Firstly, you must have an extremely short memory because I acknowledged Roman Reigns last week as my next victim. What's about to happen at Elimination Chamber after I destroy him is he will acknowledge me as the new Universal Champion. I will take the title and I will walk into the main event at WrestleMania and I will face Brock Lesnar. His ass will be next. As far as Goldberg, good luck with that, kid. There's only one me. It ain't gonna happen.
You guys have been long-time listeners of the Hoots Podcast and even my old radio show, Pro Wrestling Experience. You know, you guys knew how big of a fan I was of the Michael Cole sit-down interviews that would go on back in the day. And I would air those at the end of every single radio show I did for purpose. Because the one thing I've taken from the PW show that I brought here to the Hoots Podcast in the last 6 years is the art of acknowledging context and applying context to what I say. What I say, I believe. What I say, I speak for myself. What I say, I apply context to it. I'm not a take person. I don't have takes. I talk to you, I share how I feel about you, and I apply substance and context to everything that I say. I'm not here for clout chasing, and I don't care if I'm over in the wrestling Twitter circle. I really don't. What you get is what you get. What you see is what you get too. You know. For me, I look at what's going on right now, and the fact that they had those interviews with Roman and Goldberg got me even more intrigued for the match. Those are the things that I think WWE should embrace doing more. I love those weekly sit-down interviews that Michael Cole would have with Triple H, and they would go over what's going on through the week of the shows and stuff like that. I think that's a nice feature. Now, you don't have to do it every single week, but every once in a while, you could, do Michael Cole sitting down talking to Charlotte Flair. You can have Michael Cole have a sit-down interview with Drew McIntyre. Depending on whatever the feuds are going on the DAHN Smack, you can do that, and I think this was effective there, and it's something I wish they could do more of. Even if you want to do it on Raw, you can have Corey Graves have a sit down interview with Damian Priest. Like, what's more about this Damian thing? Like, how did you get to the point that you need to snap? Is it because you had that experience with the fake zombies at Extreme Rules? Was that the reason why you unleashed the Damian? Is stuff like that. You could implement it into your shows. So that's my thoughts there. And then let's look at what else happened on the DAHN Smack really quick as we continue on here on the Hoots Podcast. We had a couple interesting matches on the show. I thought SmackDown was pretty solid this week as compared to last week. I was mentioning last week that I haven't been really impressed with the match lineups and offerings that we've been getting on SmackDown, but I thought this week was pretty solid. I thought Baron Corbin and Cesaro was pretty good for what it was. End of days is still a good finisher, and the fact that nobody's kicked out of it is a nice touch. The match with New Day and Los Lotharios I thought was really good to start off the show. And then let's talk about this, because this one's going to rile some people up, and I really don't give a shit. Charlotte Flair and Naomi had the best women's TV match of 2022 so far for WWE. I would even say probably the best TV match for women in any company this year. But I'm not going to discredit what's been going on at Impact Wrestling or AEW, so I'm not going to do that. I don't engage in hyperbole, remember? So I will say, objectively, of all the matches that I transcribed from the WWE this year, female-wise, I feel that this was the best TV match for the year, especially for the SmackDown brand. And I feel like it kind of compelled Raw to do that gauntlet match on Monday, and I'll put that over too in a couple minutes, because this week was a really good week of in-ring action for the women for the WWE. We had the main event of SmackDown this past week was Charlotte Flair and Naomi, and this match was phenomenal. And I don't care if you get butthurt about this, but maybe we are in the Charlotte Flair interpretation of the Reign of Terror that Triple H did during the Ruthless Aggression era. I'll say that, because if you look at the trajectory and how things have gone on, look at Charlotte, man. Multiple time champion, barn burner after barn burner. Just like Triple H would say, she's just that damn good. I love Charlotte Flair. I could watch her wrestle any time of the week. I love her promos. I love the presentation of Charlotte Flair, because Charlotte Flair is business. Again, this is a business. She's a draw. She carries herself like a star. She's not about trying to get clout from Twitter. And the best thing about Charlotte, and nobody ever wants to acknowledge it, she lets her work speak for itself. And I admire that of her. And I want to give big props to Naomi too, because Naomi's been, JR says a lot on this podcast over the years. He's like, you got to maximize your TV time. You got to maximize your TV time. And I don't know who on the WWE roster this year, especially on Raw or SmackDown, have maximized their TV time more than Naomi. And you can hear the reactions from the crowd that she's been getting over the last 3 to 4 months, especially during this feud with Sonya Deville. I thought you had everything perfectly aligned here. It was an awesome match. If you haven't seen it, go out of your way to check it out. Charlotte Flair did retain, but I thought that match was great. And, I know Twitter's not really pumped up about Charlotte Flair and Ronda Rousey. I don't care. Go watch their matches Survivor Series from LA a few years ago and tell me that's not going to be a good match at WrestleMania. Look at what Charlotte put in the ring against Naomi on Friday. That's just phenomenal. And facts are facts. I do believe collectively, if you look at the entire landscape of just WWE, I think that Becky Lynch is the best overall performer in WWE. But when you look at the measuring stick of the women's division, it's Charlotte Flair. Just like Triple H was the measuring stick of his era in WWE. You don't have to like it, but facts are facts. It's right there in front of you. You just choose not to acknowledge it. That's kind of the thing of life, So I really enjoyed SmackDown this week. I thought it was a good show. I know SmackDown tomorrow was a taped episode because obviously they're flying out to Jeddah, and kind of bummed that we won't have any Pat McAfee, but we'll get him back sooner or later after Elimination Chamber is over. Let's talk about Monday Night Raw this past Monday night from Indianapolis, Indiana. By the way, if you haven't seen Brock Lesnar and the Pat McAfee show, you need to go out of your way to check that out. I thought that was fantastic. Cowboy Brock beat the shit out of Austin Theory and then took a selfie with him. I thought that was funny. Nice to see some of these NXT guys get implemented with the stuff on Raw. I think right now it looks like the people from the Raw roster are going to probably link up more with the NXT roster more than SmackDown from what I'm seeing so far. So, we're going to have Tommaso Ciampa and Dolph Ziggler on NXT next week. I think that's cool. You know, I got a question a couple weeks ago about how do I feel about, you know, people from the main roster going back down to NXT 2.0 and working with these guys. I think it's a good thing. I don't see the harm in that. Damian Priest and AJ Styles, I thought it was a nice match for the United States title. No, I don't think it affected AJ that he lost clean. It wasn't some big finisher. You know, Priest outsmarted AJ Styles and he retained his title. So I thought that was a good match. I think we're getting closer and closer to Alexa Bliss getting back to the normal state of mind. So she did announce that she's participating in the Elimination Chamber match on Saturday for the number one contender spot for the Raw Women's title at WrestleMania. So that's pretty cool. Gotta say, have you seen a hotter chick take therapy than Alexa Bliss? Holy shit, man. Waterfall for days. Speaking of love and waterfall, you know, Monday was I guess a holiday. I call it more Cap Day than Valentine's Day, but that's just me. I want to give a big shout out to Reggie for not falling for the cap. So he was getting himself into the friend zone with Dana Brooke, and he, you know, he had enough of it, and he's like, yeah. The great thing about friends, you keep your friends and your enemies closer. And he rolled up Dana Brooke, and he is your new 24/7 champion. I thought that was pretty funny backstage. Little side thing, wasn't a big takeaway from Raw, but it's something I wanted to mention. I thought the Becky Lynch Lita contract signing was fine. I was already sold on the match, so this is just more window dressing. More than anything heading into the pay-per-view. And I have to remind people all the time, like, what you see on TV from Raw and SmackDown each week is more about plot points, and the main offering of the storylines and the matches are on those premium live events. So I think that Becky Lita will have a lot of fans interested. Sure, the crowd will be great for it. And I'm curious to see how that goes down. Let's give a shout out to the ladies in the women's gauntlet match this past Monday on Raw. Phenomenal match and phenomenal performance by Rhea Ripley. You know, I always say the best performers seem to bring out their best performances during WrestleMania season, and I thought Rhea Ripley it was a really good night. If you're a Rhea Ripley fan, I will say that she didn't win. Bianca Belair won, and she'll be coming in last in the gauntlet match, in the Elimination Chamber match. So some good stuff there. Afro Academy. Chad Gable, you need to listen to yourself. I can't do this guy justice. You want an example of maximizing your TV time? Here you go.
Who stuck cartoons in there as a category? We should have been discussing Michelangelo the painter, and here we are talking about turtles. Ridiculous. And then there's you, the morons of the WWE Universe, feeding Randy and Riddle answer after answer, helping them win. Where were you when we needed help? Nowhere to be found. That's the problem these days. You guys have come to worship cheaters. It's disgusting. But I'm here to help you, so listen up. And most of all, I want our opponents, the Mysterios, to listen up. Especially you, young Dominic. You've got such an illustrious career ahead of you, but you're listening to that con man Ray telling you cheating's the way to win.
Chad Gable's the man. I thought them and the Mysterios had a very, very good match. Like I said, this was a really good week of wrestling on Raw. So overall, I thought both Raw and SmackDown were good shows. They capped off with Seth Rollins and Randy Orton in the main event, which led up Seth Rollins winning due to interference from Alpha Academy. So some good stuff there to wrap up Monday Night Raw on Cap Day, not Valentine's Day, Cap Day. So let's make some predictions really quick for the Elimination Chamber before we head out. Get to our main event segment as everybody's waiting for. Let's go bottom to top here. Rey Mysterio against The Miz. I have The Miz winning. I have that going down. I have Ronda Rousey and Naomi winning against Charlotte Flair, Sonya Deville. I see that going down. I got the Usos retaining over the Viking Raiders and the SmackDown Tag Team titles. I have for the women's chamber match, some of the year, guys, it really is for me. I see a scenario of possibly Rhea Ripley winning, but right now my safe bet would be go with Bianca Belair to win that match. I got Drew McIntyre beating Madcap Moss. That's going to go down. Got the Tribal Chief retaining against Goldberg. Got Becky Lynch retaining against Lita. And I got Brock Lesnar becoming the WWE Champion in the Elimination Chamber. So those are my predictions for Elimination Chamber. It should be a pretty good card. Let's look at it, and it should be a good time. You know, the last show that they had in Jeddah in Saudi Arabia was the Crown Jewel show, and it ended up being one of the best pay-per-views in 2021. So see how this one shakes up at the Superdome in Jeddah, and it should be a fun event. I'm looking forward to it. Speaking of other events, we had NXT Vengeance Day the other night on NXT 2.0. Shout out to the Creed Brothers, who are the winners of the 2022 Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic Tournament. Tremendous match with MSK. Thoroughly loved it. Really enjoyed the Carmelo Hayes match with Cameron Grimes for the NXT North American Championship. That was another one you should check out. And then Braun Breaker and Santos Escobar for the NXT Championship. Very good match. Braun Breaker is still your NXT champion, but a nice showing by Santos Escobar. If you guys haven't seen Vengeance Day, go check it out as well. And then for today, our preview for NXT UK, we have a couple of matches announced already for the card. I'm just pulling up here for today. We have Amelia McKenzie against Angel Hayes. We have Stevie Turner against Mila Grace. We have Sam Gradwell against Kenny Williams in a grudge match. And then we got Jordan Devlin against Wolfgang in the main event. So we got some OGs from NXT UK who are main eventing NXT UK today. So I'm looking forward to that. I do want to say really quick before we get to our main event segment that I heard the news about 205 Live going away. And the brand is switching now to WWE Level Up. It's sucks to see brands like that go away. As somebody who's actually transcribed every episode of 205 Live and the Cruiserweight Classic, I'm glad I got to go through that run and seeing that whole brand through. It's many variations of the brand. And I enjoy the original concept. Of course, there's things that could have been done to make it better and more sustainable for what it is right now. But, you know, from everybody that was on that original roster, from the Barn Burners at the Barn Burners at the Barn Burners, I'm very appreciative of shows like 205 Live because it was shows like that that made me a better transcriber and made me better at my craft. So, honestly, I want to say thank you for everybody from Adam Pearce and the guys behind the scenes that made 205 Live what it was, producing the show, and also the guys that killed it during the whole stretch of that show. And, of course, Nigel McGuinness and Vic Joseph and Mauro Ranallo and Tom Phillips. I mean, Corey Graves had a little stint in 205 Live as well. I love that show, and it meant a lot to me. So I kind of bummed me out seeing that the other day. So my thoughts out to 205 Live. Thank you for challenging me and getting better at my craft. So with that being said, more positive news. Let's get to it. What everybody's been waiting for. The moment that we all been waiting for. A nice restaurant quality edition of What the Hell is Wrong with AEW. We're going to start this bad boy off with the Director of Operations, a.k.a. Sir Dericho, in a 3, 2, 1.
Beat your meat. 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 Beat your meat.
It's time for What the Hell is Wrong with AEW? What the hell is wrong with AEW? You know, leave it to this godforsaken wrestling company to toy with me and actually think we're going to get a good show this week. Because the first 30 minutes was some of the best television that AEW has ever produced. And then the real AEW showed up. Let's get into all of it, and I'll explain what I mean. As usual, let's talk about the things I enjoyed first. Again, as I mentioned, the first 30 minutes of the show might be some of the best television AEW has produced. We get a fantastic CM Punk promo to open the show, and MJF not saying anything was perfect. Everything about it was terrific, and actually the dog collar match makes sense. You know, MJF has nowhere to run. It's physical, it's violent, it's what CM Punk wants to do to MJF. So I thought all of this makes sense. Good match with Bryan Danielson and Lee Moriarty. I thought Moriarty held himself well. Obviously, we know what Bryan Danielson can do in the ring. He's, many people would say he's the best technician in the world right now. It's hard to argue that. He's terrific in the ring. And I'm finally starting to buy his heel character a little bit, so that was great. And then, a Jon Moxley promo that I was actually enthralled with and intrigued by. It was really, really good. So all of that was great. I loved the first 30 minutes of AEW Dynamite this week. I thought it was great. And then we got a really good match with Sammy Guevara and Darby Allin to close the show. Darby Allin is incredible. I think he could be a world champion in the future. And I know Josh and I disagree on Sammy Guevara, but I think Sammy Guevara is terrific, and I really enjoyed their match. Until the end, which we'll get to in a minute. So now, let's get to the crap, and oh boy, was there a lot of crap with this show. There is no one else I hate more in wrestling than the Acclaimed. Seriously. Max Caster is probably the worst act in pro wrestling. I hate him. I hate whenever the Acclaim comes out. They can just go home and stay home. I want to know why Wardlow didn't powerbomb him 10 more times. That would have just made my night. Match was okay, nothing special. The squash matches need to stop. We get what Wardlow is and what he's doing. Fine. The powerbombs were sloppy, and Shawn Spears is completely useless. I now see why WWE got rid of him, because he is completely and utterly useless in everything he does. I have no idea what the hell that Britt Baker promo was backstage. You're really telling me she's going to get in the face of Mercedes Martinez? Yeah, that's going to end well. I'm going to talk about Britt Baker a little bit later in my portion of the segment here, but it wasn't good. Okay, then we get Hangman Adam Page in a promo battle with him and Adam Cole. I can't believe I'm saying this, but Hangman Adam Page won the promo battle. His promo part of it was actually very good, and I really like that. Cole had some nice moments in the promo, but I gotta tell you, he looks disheveled and he looks awful. His beard looks out of place, and he's clearly out of shape. I just hate Adam Cole's character in AEW. It's annoyingly heelish for no reason. It's not like heel for the sake of being, he's just being a jackass for no reason. It makes no sense. And then you watch him, if you get a chance to watch the Chugs on Twitter, he's completely opposite. And I get he's playing a character on AEW television, but he's just a dick for no reason. And I don't get it. And apparently the Dark Order is still a thing? Who the hell knew? We haven't seen the Dark Order be relevant for a long time, and all of a sudden, boom, they show up again. Hey. And of course, you have number 10, who is supposedly a face, attacking security guards for no reason when they were trying to break up this beatdown of his friend Adam Page. That just makes no sense. Oh, and by the way, are we just supposed to forget that Adam Cole lost to Orange Cassidy 2 weeks ago in a in the beach break match? And we haven't even seen best friends on Dynamite in a while. Like, how is this storytelling making sense? Because did they expect you to follow up and watch Rampage that week? I'm not going to watch Rampage. I got too much stuff to do. I'd rather not watch Dynamite. If it wasn't for our segment, I'd watch Dynamite every week. Or I wouldn't watch Dynamite because it's just terrible. But good God. Like, how is this good? How is this good storytelling? How are we supposed to... If Adam Cole wins the AEW World Championship, is that when Pockets is going to come back? Ugh, ridiculous. All right, Santana Ortiz versus Jericho and Jake Hager. Jericho and Hager looked horrible. Santana and Ortiz looked pretty good. Chris Jericho and Jake Hager need to give it up. They have no business being in the ring anymore. They're slow and boring to watch. Jericho especially, he's just got to go. He at least is a bit of a legend, so I get why they're keeping him around. But Jake Hager is another useless talent. Him and Shawn Spears need to be released by AEW because they're doing absolutely nothing for the promotion except causing Tony Khan to pay money to basically to people who don't deserve it and just folks, friends of the elite who are showing up to earn a check. It was cool to see Eddie Kingston back. I'm glad we're finally getting the match with him and Jericho so that this horrible feud can be over and we can move on. All right, I said this many times and I will say it again. The elite are awful. Everything that they touch turns to complete shit. Cole and Red Dragon have gotten worse since being allied with them. And you can see that with the Young Bucks and Red Dragon promo with Brandon Cutler backstage. And Cole, where are you going to go? Turn that off, Brandon. It's awful. The elite need to go home. I mean, part of the elite have already gone away. Thank God. And I'm going to get to that in the Thoughts of Jericho. But the elite, they're just awful. They are, besides the Acclaimed, the worst part about pro wrestling. All right, we get to a no DQ match between Thunder Rosa and Mercedes Martinez. So I posed this question. Why are rope breaks allowed in a no DQ match? How does that make sense? Oh, wait, it doesn't, because this is AEW and they don't know what the fuck they're doing. This match was sloppy at best. Both competitors are much better than this. They should just go out there and wrestle. I know Mercedes Martinez and Thunder Rosa can just go out and wrestle. They should do that. Thunder Rosa wins clean, and then we get a useless post-match attack. All right, I said this earlier. Britt Baker is starting to annoy me too. And she isn't as good as I thought she was. She doesn't wrestle a whole lot. When she does, it's meh. And her character work, much like Adam Cole, is just annoyingly heelish at that point. It's not like being a clever heel. She's just being a bitch for no reason. She's fallen off the wayside for me. I think I'd much rather see the women's title on, Thunder Rosa. Hell, Jade Cargill. I think there's a two right there that could easily better represent the women's division than Jade Cargill or than Britt Baker. So Britt Baker's starting to fall off for me. I think she's been influenced by Adam Cole and the Elite too much, and she's starting to go away, or she's starting to fall off for me. I love how they are showing Go Big Show promos with Cody after he announced he left AEW. I thought that was funny. Okay, and now we get to the main event. As I mentioned, a good match with Sammy Guevara and Darby Allin. Darby Allin is incredible. But why is the Hardy family office getting involved in this match? Nobody cares about Andrade and the Andrade Hardy family office. Matt Hardy is a piece of crap. He sucks so bad. I hate Matt Hardy almost as much as I hate the Acclaimed. And that's saying a lot, because I really hate the Acclaimed. They're ruining this match. Matt Hardy's career is in the absolute toilet, and he's bringing down everybody with him. With Andrade, he's bringing him down, Private Party. Everybody involved with Matt Hardy is being brought down because of his bullshit. We started off with a great 30 minutes, and then the rest was absolute crap. But that's AEW for you. Seriously, what the hell is wrong with AEW? This has been What the Hell is Wrong with AEW.
All right, here we go. Thank you very much for submission this week, man. I appreciate it. Very few times you find myself disagreeing with the Sir Royalty of Dericho's out there. By the way, here in the United States, we get paid in dollars, not in loonies. Never forget that. You know what I need right now, guys and girls, those who are listening to this? You know what I need? I need a palate cleanser. No, I'm not talking about a traditional palate cleanser. I need a palate cleanser the kinds of like you heard in How I Met Your Mother. I need something to remove the crap and minutia that this show offers and sees through my brain threshold as the weeks go on. I mean, more power to you if you're marking out for these Dynamite episodes and, oh my god, Revolution's going to be an awesome pay-per-view. Like, more power to you. Like, I'm really happy for you, but for me, oh man. brother. You think it's a bad build-up and road to WrestleMania. What fucking road to Revolution is this? We barely got 4 matches announced. And the rest of you be off assumptions of the stuff you've been watching on the shows for the last 4 or 5 weeks. What's the build? Oh, we're going to have 2 sets of Outlaw Mud Show gimmick battle royals to determine 2 different teams to fight the Jungle Express in a Mud Show triple threat tag match. Where I'm sure the referee will be made to look stupid. At Revolution, the triple threat tag match for the AEW World Tag Team titles. The list goes further and further as the weeks go by of stuff that's just so ridiculous about this promotion. And the whole premise of the Forbidden Door and wins and losses matter and all the bill of goods that were sold to us at the initial AEW press conference in Jacksonville when they announced the company, that all died this week. You want to know what the hell's wrong with AEW? It's nothing but bill of goods. They offer you a bill of goods, but all in all, you're watching on TV, and it's a daycare center for indie talent and former WWE superstars. That's what it is. Let's talk about the stuff I did like before I have people, oh, you hate AEW. No, I don't hate AEW. I say stuff about AEW nobody in the wrestling media has the balls to say. So, with that being said, take it from my idol, and let's hear some of the good stuff that I actually did like for Dynamite last night. Hit us off with it, Punk.
If you don't know by now, you should. My name is CM Punk, and what I am is straight edge. I'm drug-free, I'm alcohol-free, and that means I'm better than you. Does that sound familiar? Those words I spoke for the first time over 20 years ago, and they became the foundation of my career. And I can sit here in Nashville, Tennessee, and feel pride that foundation grew into such a career that I have managed to inspire the next generation of professional wrestling. Some of them are sitting in the locker room right now. Some of them became wrestlers because of me. Some of them became straight edge because of me. Hell, some of them sit like I do. And then there's MJF. He tries to walk like me, to talk like me. He can never think like me. But when he beat me in my hometown, twice, you would think that I would be furious, that I would be mad. But to tell you the truth, Max, I'm proud of you. Where you stray from the path is you fail to retain the knowledge of the lessons that you are being taught. Maxwell Jacob Friedman fancies himself Piper in Portland, Brent in Calgary, and Punk in Chicago, when in reality he's just shitty little Max from shitty little Long Island.
The foundation of Max's career has been a ring that he has used to beat opponent after opponent, and it's a ring that he won with help from other people. So now the situation is this because of last week. Shout out to Jon Moxley, thanks for the assist. I now get to pick the time, the place, the date, and the match for my rematch with Little Max.
Some good stuff there for CM Punk. Opening part of Dynamite last night was CM Punk addressing what match and what time he would face MJF. And it is Revolution, March 6, 2022 in Orlando at the UCF Arena. Good area. I was just there during the summertime last year. CM Punk will be fighting MJF in a dog collar match. And they went on with the story about referencing Piper and Greg the Valentine and their dog collar matches back in the territory days. And you'd have Punk say, Max, will you be my Valentine? I thought it was pretty funny. So I thought that was a good segment. As far as matches and stuff that I liked in the show, I thought the Bryan Danielson Lee Moriarty match was pretty good. I'll say that Lee Moriarty is a gem and that I think he's a guy, again, the name of the game of this business is making money and maximizing your TV time. Nobody's going to sell you better than yourself. And I feel like Lee Moriarty has a lot going for him. And with due time, we get to know more about his personality. But, you know, an opportunity like that to fight a guy like Bryan Danielson and put a performance like that, I thought that was pretty impressive. Of course, I like all the House of Black vignettes. I thought that was cool. I didn't mind much of the no DQ match until the end of it. I'll get to that as well. But, yeah, just like Brother Carr said, the start of this show was not too shabby. I thought we were actually going to get a break and finally have a good show on our hands to talk about. But just the adage goes, AEW just continues to get in their own way. And, I mean, where do I start? For me, would Jon Moxley and Bryan Danielson be a good match? Sure. But dangling this carrot of them working together does nothing for me. And it's also getting me to the point, like, just either fight each other or just stop doing segments with each other. and that's my thing. Like, nothing that Moxley said last night bothered me, but it didn't resonate with me either, too, you know? Like, I like Jon Moxley. I like Bryan Danielson. I just rather see these guys beat the shit out of each other instead of dangling a carrot of them forming the 25th faction in AEW. I just want to see them do some stuff and just beat the shit out of each other in the ring. So, that was what it was. I know we'll get into the big news of Cody towards the end of this because that's very important, and I will get to that. The Forbidden Door. I've been promising to talk about this. I want to talk about this really briefly. Forbidden Door is nothing but CAP. Write it down, folks. CAP. Cap. The Forbidden Door is not people coming in from other promotions and wrestling on your TV show. You know who really is the Forbidden Door and it should deserve the props for that? It's Court Bauer. But nobody will say it, but I'll say it here on the Hoots Podcast. So, the Forbidden Door and whoever is the Forbidden Door is nothing but cap. Let me add on to this, unrelated to the Forbidden Door. Aubrey. Somebody get this bitch some fucking glasses. Aubrey. Put the VR goggles and do your fucking... I slipped that one. Let me restart that. Aubrey. Get this bitch some fucking glasses. Aubrey. Get the VR goggles away and do your damn job! I was still fucking around with Ruby Soho's theme song last night while I was doing a transfer, just kind of coming up with ideas for the segment this week. I thought that came out pretty well, so I don't know. What do you guys think? Aubrey Edwards, man. She is a character indeed. I mean, she was in rare form again this week in the match with the Dinner Circle, the grudge tag match nobody asked for on television. Yeah, I'm a fan of Santana Ortiz just like anybody else, but did they really go over in that match? Do you really give a shit whether Chris Jericho and Eddie Kingston fight each other at Revolution? You let me know. Britt Baker's stock is starting to fall down, guys. I hate to say it, had the cocky attitude and the eye rolls and the facial expressions like my older sister has, but all that to the side, her stock is starting to fall down, and the whole premise of this is now that it looks like it's going to be Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa at Revolution for the AEW Women's World Championship. But here's my thing. I would be more interested in this match if it happened 6 months ago. But again, this opens up another issue that's going on with AEW, but nobody wants to acknowledge it. I'll mention it here. So tell me, again, this is the promotion that told us that wins and losses matter, right? The rankings matter, the wins and losses matter. But I think it's very convenient when a talent gets hot on Twitter or the Observer or Fightful or any of these other outlets start pumping up some of these performers. Oh, we'll put the wins and losses to the side and prop them up into a program. Kind of like when Britt Baker won the AEW champion for the first time, even though she lost to Thunder Rosa in a lights out match. We didn't see Thunder Rosa on TV for about a month or so. Don't you see a pattern here? Oh, here's Adam Cole, this big signing from WWE. Loses the pockets. Doing next to nothing of interest with a Bullet Club angle that's so... I've seen this retread of Bullet Club angles in 3 different promotions for the last 5 years. I'm over it. Hell, I'm even over the House of Torture, who's a new subgroup of Bullet Club. Just get rid of Bullet Club all in all, please. And then, here you go. Hangman Page and Adam Cole. Like, you should name this episode of Dynamite, Let's Be Friends. Oh, Bryan Danielson and Jon Moxley want to be friends. Oh, Mercedes Martinez and Britt Baker want to be working buddies and friends and lay out Thunder Rosa. Oh, we have Andrade and Matt Hardy being friends. Let me get to that bullshit later on. Oh, we have Adam Cole 1 week being butt buddies with Red Dragon. Then the Young Bucks and Jay White and Brandon Cutlet and Referee Tony and Brother Carter and Joshie and everybody under the fucking sun. Let's be friends! No! Let's be friends! So, you mean to tell me that I'm supposed to forget that Adam Cole lost the pockets a couple weeks ago on the main event of your TV? But no! Oh, it's storyline. They're friends. They had the Bullet Club ties. That's more justifiable reason for it to be a main event of pay-per-view. Okay, then tell me again that wins and losses don't matter then. Tell me that. Tell me that wins and losses don't matter. But you want to harp on that with WWE shows, but you give it a pass with AEW shows because they're friends and they're from the indies and they're over on Twitter. You're not fooling me, guys. You're not fooling me. I see right through the bullshit. So, before we get to Cody, let's talk about the main event. We had Darby Allin and Sammy Guevara. I thought the match for what it was good until the finish. And again, this is of AEW overcomplicating things to get to one thing to another. And again, this need of having WCW style brawls or sneak attacks and hit and run scenarios after every match while the show goes off air, it's just not interesting to me. Kind of like the lineup for Rampage this week. Outside of Dante Martin and Powerhouse Hobbs, I could give 2 shits about the card for Rampage on Friday. The only good thing about Rampage this week, I'll say right now, is the fact that it's airing 1 hour before SmackDown, and I don't have to stay up to fucking 2 o'clock in the morning to type it out. Okay, that's the best and only good thing about Rampage this week. I mean, sure, it'd be cool, and I think Jay White and Trent Barreto have a decent match, but does that really mean anything? Again, what is it, like I mentioned last week, what's in it for Jay White to be in AEW right now? Playing sixth fiddle to the Young Bucks and Adam Cole and Red Dragon. I guess we gotta confirm Red Dragon as part of the Elite in Bullet Club. Like, it's just too much nonsense, guys. Like, you're overdoing it with the Friends shit, and you're really tapping into that all Friends wrestling narrative out there. You guys really are. Look how the show's presented. So we had Sammy and Darby get interrupted by the Running Lip Man and Andrade, I'm generic as fuck Del Rio, come down to the ring and cause pure chaos and anarchy. It looks like Andrade wants a shot against Sammy Guevara at Revolution. So we got a TNT title matches with 2 douchebags. Quite apropos for that side of the fence, right? Yeah, I'm not really excited for it. More power to Sammy for him being the champion and all, but a match with him, Andrade, yeah, there'd be a lot of athleticism and a lot of lucha stuff, but for me, that does nothing for me. And if they make it a triple threat match, I'll be more interested. But again, this did nothing for me. And to have that be the finish and how your show goes off the air, following what happened on last week's show, the big touting, everybody's pumping up their chests again. The dirt sheets and all these podcasts that get on their knees and wants Tony Khan to unload on them. They're like getting so excited for the rating that they got on Dynamite last week. Let's see how it is today. Because this episode was just there. Good for 20 minutes, and the rest of it, complete dog shit that I can see on any other wrestling show. Before we wrap it up here, let's talk about Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes made the announcement, the statements out there. He and Brandy are leaving AEW. I'm not going to come here in this segment and tell you guys that, oh my God, I'm a Cody Rhodes marked down that he left AEW. That's not what I'm going to do. I stand by what I said. I was not a fan of what he was doing in AEW and how his character was being presented. I was not a fan of that. And that doesn't change regardless of where he goes next. But I will say this, though. Cody Rhodes leaving AEW is significant to stuff that I have mentioned here on this podcast before about the environment and the structure and the infrastructure, or if there even is an infrastructure in AEW. This is the stuff that you won't hear on other shows. You want to talk about dominoes falling and, the sky's falling for WWE because you're not getting Twitter's not getting what they want out of the product? Well, let's look at this. We have a guy who's one of the main executive vice presidents of AEW. Not even 3 years into the promotion, leaves. You have scuttlebutt about him having dissension about creative process and him and Tony Khan. And again, what message does that send to your audience? What message does that send to your locker room when you had the whole situation with Big Swole to start off 2022 and you hear the stuff about Hikaru Shida? No, I did not forget about that. I did promise Nate and everybody else that sent me that mentioned that, yeah. So you're not going to accommodate Hikaru Shida to find a living because she's Japanese? I had this conversation a lot with a friend of mine on Instagram, and there needs to be some checks and balances in that company, and there needs to be somebody that tells Tony Khan no, and there's somebody that needs to provide some reality check, because right now there's too much glad-handing and kissing each other's ass and slapping each other in the ass. It's like the good old boys club. Everybody's all free to do whatever they want because they're out of the evil WWE, and they can act in like jackasses and do whatever they want and deal with no consequences. And it's the Wild Wild West, and there is no filter, there's no structure. Mr. Tony Khan Big Bucks I got from my daddy's loan is going to okay everything that's going on with the promotion. And you see the flaws, you see the stuff that we mention on the show each week, and then you see one of the biggest parts of the company and what made it what it was, Cody Rhodes leaving not even 3 years into the product. So, you tell me, is everything rainbows and butterflies in AEW? You let me know. Because Cody Rhodes leaving AEW is a bigger deal than you want to admit. Where he goes to WWE or not, I really don't give a shit. But don't tell me that him leaving AEW is not a big deal, because it is. And on that note, AEW needs a wake-up call, and that, folks, is what the hell is wrong with AEW this week. All right, folks, I want to thank you guys so much for hanging out with me for another fun episode of the Hoots Podcast. Can't believe it, guys. We're 3 more episodes away from episode 300. Thank you guys so much for support. If you missed the interview that I did with Rob Aurelius from ARCG Media, make sure to check it out on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/TheHootsPodcast. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast anywhere you get your podcasts from. Type in the Hoots Podcast. It'll be there for you. Free of charge. We don't have a Patreon account. This is a free podcast for you guys to enjoy. And I hope you guys remember to be the authentic product that is yourself. And don't forget that nobody dictates the pace of your life but yourself. If you want to partake and participate in episode 300, please send us an audio shout out or congrats. Send us an MP3 file to TheHootsPodcast@gmail.com. That would really mean a lot to me. And Bert Carter will play those submissions on the 300th episode. And I'll give you guys more information on episode 300 as we get closer to it. Please bookmark ProWrestlingTranscriptions.com. If you want to follow me on Twitter, you can at Josh Lopez Media. And follow Bernard Carter on Twitter at Derek Stoughton. On that note, I'm going to pass it off for Bernard Carter for this week's edition of the Thoughts of Dericho. For Sir Dericho, I'm Joshie. This has been episode 297 of the Hoots Podcast. Hope you guys enjoyed the Elimination Chamber. We'll be here to recap it next week. And the road to WrestleMania starts right after Sunday. So it should be a fun time, ladies and gentlemen. For now, I'm Joshie. Have a wonderful weekend. Now let's pass it off to Bernard Carter for this week's edition of the Thoughts of Dericho. I'll talk to you guys next week. Yes, sir.
And now, the Thoughts of Dericho. Listen well, man. Welcome, one and all, to the segment that will never be eliminated in your lifetime. It is the Thoughts of Dericho, featuring the one, the only, Brother Carter. Going to take a slightly different approach to the Thoughts of Dericho this week. I want to talk about just a couple of the news stories in pro wrestling this week. Obviously, the biggest story, Cody and Brandi Rhodes leaving AEW, and it's being rumored that they're going to sign with WWE. I mean, listen. Cody, I believe that Cody Rhodes actually has something to give back to the wrestling industry. I think that he is, a good wrestler. I think that he has a good wrestling mind. And if he decides to go back to WWE just as Cody Rhodes, that could be really cool. I just hope that WWE doesn't misuse him and hopes to, do the Stardust gimmick or anything like that. I hope he actually just gets to be Cody Rhodes, because that could be cool with matches with Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins was the first person I thought of he could work with, or Kevin Owens. I don't know if he'd get to work with a Tribal Chief. Well, no, because Tribal Chief will be working with Brock Lesnar, but that could be kind of cool. Drew McIntyre, he could have some great matches there, so that's cool. The reports are also coming up that Brandi Rhodes will not be going to WWE, and thank God, because she's useless. I mean, the last time we saw her on TV was in this random-ass feud with Dan Lambert and Paige Van Zant or whatever. That was just stupid, and she's terrible. So she can go home and stay home, that's fine. But if Cody Rhodes does end up going back to WWE, that would be terrific. I think he could get a major push and could end up being a major asset for that company going forward. But we will see what is in his future. All right, let's get to Elimination Chamber, as that is the, that's the big pay-per-view coming up this weekend, and it's, as usual, it's time for me to give my predictions. No! For the Chamber that is eliminated from Saudi Arabia this coming Saturday morning here in the United States, Saturday evening over in Saudi Arabia. These are always fun shows. The crowd over there is hot, and we tend to get some more quote-unquote dream match type scenarios for that pay-per-view. before we get back to the United States and get ready to roll for the road to WrestleMania. Should be a lot of fun. So, let's get into it. And now I'm going to be reading from the current card as I'm recording Thursday morning. And I'm recording this portion of the podcast on the Thursday morning, the same day that Josh is doing it. So, let's go in reverse order. And we start with Rey Mysterio versus The Miz. This should be a fun match. I have Rey Mysterio getting the win here. I think that'd be a great feel-good story for the crowd over there, and they would want to see the faces get the win. So, this should be a fun match. And I have Rey Mysterio getting the win for him and for his family. Drew McIntyre versus Madcap Moss. I've got Drew McIntyre getting a win here. No reason to have Madcap Moss get a win because I think that will eventually end up leading to Drew McIntyre versus Baron Corbin or Happy Corbin at WrestleMania. So, and then Drew McIntyre can go on and face the Tribal Chief after he takes care of Brock Lesnar, which we'll get into. Well, maybe not. I don't know. Actually, now that I think about it, that might not necessarily be the case. We'll get to all that here in a little... Well, when I give my WrestleMania predictions in about 6 weeks, we'll get into that. But, yeah, Drew McIntyre versus Madcap Moss. I've got McIntyre getting the win. SmackDown Tag Team Championships. You got the Usos taking on the Viking Raiders. Again, no reasons to take the titles off the Usos. They're fantastic, even though the Viking Raiders have been doing terrific work as of late. I think they're hilarious. No reason to take the titles off of the Usos just yet. I've got the Usos retaining their championships. Ronda Rousey taking on Naomi. I'm sorry, Ronda Rousey and Naomi versus the SmackDown Women's Champion Charlotte Flair and Sonya Deville in a women's tag match. This is actually going to be a lot of fun, I think, and because this could be a great match. I've always wanted to see Sonya Deville back in the ring as a full-time performer. I mean, she's great as an authority figure, don't get me wrong, but I've always thought she was one of the most dangerous competitors when she was with Fire and Desire with Mandy Rose. So I think this is going to be a great match. This is going to be a lot of fun. I've got Charlotte Flair and Sonya Deville getting the win here. I think that, you can continue to build this to have, Naomi versus Sonya Deville at one-on-one at WrestleMania in loser leaves WWE, or if Naomi wins, she leaves WWE. If Sonya Deville wins, she has to step down as an authority figure or something like that. You can do that at WrestleMania. I still think that Naomi should get the help of the Bloodline, but that's just me. But, yeah, that's how I see that going down. I see the heels getting the win in that. Raw Women's Championship match, Becky Lynch versus Lita. This should be a fun match. Obviously, Becky Lynch retains here. No reason to put the title on Lita, but this should be just a fun little one-off match to see what Becky Lynch can do against Hall of Famer and Lita. But this should be great. Elimination Chamber match for an opportunity at the Raw Women's title at WrestleMania. You've got Alexa Bliss, Liv Morgan, Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair, Doudrop, and Nikki A.S.H. I've actually got Alexa Bliss winning this. I think that her coming back, she can start her redemption story. Oh, there, I'm going to go recording, and I said the magic word in my... Alexa, stop. I'm going to keep that in there because my smart speaker went off during Miss Bliss's first name. So I think that's kind of funny. I'm going to leave that in there. So, sorry, Josh. But I think that's kind of funny. But yeah, I've got Miss Bliss. I have to say it like that because of my smart speaker. Ha! Yeah, I've got Miss Bliss winning and getting her redemption story as she begins her road to getting back. And I think that she'll have a great match with Becky Lynch at WrestleMania. So I've got Miss Bliss winning this match. Universal Championship match, I'll say, is next. Roman Reigns versus Goldberg. Obviously, Reigns gets the victory here. No reason to belabor this. I just hope that Goldberg actually looks in shape because his matches, and I like Goldberg, but his matches are kind of hit or miss with this. So we'll see what happens. I've got Roman Reigns retaining his championship. Okay. WWE Championship Elimination Chamber match. You got the champ, Bobby Lashley, versus Brock Lesnar, Austin Theory, Riddle, AJ Styles, and Seth freaking Rollins. This one is difficult to predict. Boy. I've got a head versus heart thing here. My head tells me Brock Lesnar could win this thing. But my heart is saying Bobby Lashley. So I'm going to say that Bobby Lashley retains here. I don't see... They've talked about a title for title match at WrestleMania. to me, it seems like you've got to have a 2 world titles scenario at WrestleMania. I'm going to say Bobby Lashley retains here, but don't be surprised if Brock Lesnar wins it back. And then we get a title for title match. My only problem with that is then what happens on Raw, and then what's the main event, what do Raw superstars do leading into Mania? You've got to have something for a world title for Bobby Lashley and something to do at Mania. So storyline wise, it makes more sense to have Bobby Lashley win. So I'm going to go with Bobby Lashley, but this should be a fun match. This should be a war. And those are my predictions for the Elimination Chamber match. And those are the thoughts of Dericho for this week. Should be a very fun weekend of wrestling action. My final thought is congratulations to the Los Angeles Rams on winning the Super Bowl. Shout out to OBJ. I hope he gets better soon and we see him back. The Rams win all in. They pushed their chips all in, and the gamble paid off, and they won the Super Bowl. My only complaint is, if Cooper Kupp would have gotten me 10 more yards, I would have won my 4-team parlay and won $60. Come on, man!
This has been the Thoughts of Dericho. You're smarter now, man.